right, this video is for discovering pre-algebra, part 1, and in this one we're doing order of operations with fractions. If you're in this class, I'm about ready to throw that answer key up there and you can grade your work. If not, and you want to be, in the description there's a link to this live class. All right, let me pause and put these questions up there. All right, so here are the answers. Pause, check yourself, look over your work, and then watch the questions that you need help with. All right, so let's go ahead and start looking at this. I'm going to assume that you've already paused. I'm going to zoom in, and we're going to look at these. All right, so the first two first. So when you're looking at that, you should see that it's all adding and subtracting, so I just work left to right on this one. Okay, so let's start with the first two. I'm going to go ahead and do it both ways because we don't have a whole lot of whole numbers in this one, so I'm going to do the problem both ways. If I was just going to add them the way they are, it's 1 plus 3 is 4 and 1/2. If I wanted to do this a different way, I'm going to show you here in a minute. Okay, I need my common denominator, so I'm going to make this one into 2 over 4. All right, so 4 minus 2 is 2, okay? And I can't do that. So let me erase this. I can't take 3 from 2. So I'm actually going to borrow. I'm going to borrow 1 from the 4, which means adding the place value. Because remember, when you subtracted these two, you can't take 7 from 3, so you borrow 1 from here. Well, our number system is based off of a factor of 10, so you give 10 to this place value, which now makes it 13 that you're subtracting from. All right, well, this one, remember I told you fractions place value are the denominator, so you're actually adding 4 to this. All right, so 3 from 6 is 3, 2 from 3 is 1, and that 4 is just along for the ride. So 1 3/4. Now something I want to point out, we are doing bigger problems now, so there's more chance of error. So if you made a silly little mistake, just stop, fix it, and watch again. I mean, it's not a big deal. Don't get upset about yourself or mark yourself off for making simple mistakes. All right, now if you did this one using the improper method, you had to turn this into an improper fraction, which made it 3 over 2 plus 3 over 1, because you got to throw a 1 underneath this, plus 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 over 4. Then you could have probably said, oh, all the common denominators are 4, so I'm going to make this one a 6 over 4, a 12 over 4, and an 11 over 4. Now I just have to go across the top. 6 plus 12 is 18, minus 11 is 7 over 4. 4 goes into 7 one time with 3 left over. Either way is fine. You just got to pick the way that makes the most sense for you and do it, okay? So this one, I don't really have any whole numbers. The only thing you would have done is thrown a 1 underneath that, which we can see all of the common denominator across this would be 20. So a 20 over 20 plus plus a 15 over 20. Got to times that by 5, which means times in the 3 by the 5. And this one I have to times by 4s, so it's going to make a 4 over 20. 20 plus 15 is 35. And 35 minus 4 is 31. 20 could go into 31 one time with 11 left over. If you did this, another way you could have done this is say, oh, I know, 3/4 from 1 is just 1/4. Okay. Oh, sorry, that's add. 1 plus 3/4 is just 1 3/4. So I have 1 3/4 minus 1/5. Common denominator is 20, which makes the top of this one 4. Common denominator is 20, which makes the top of this one 15. 4 from 15 is 11 20ths, and 1 minus nothing, 0, is 1. Either way is acceptable. You have to pick which way it is that you want to do. There's not a whole lot of mixed numbers. I think just the first 4. Yeah, just the first 4. So I'm just going to do both in this one video instead of making 2 videos. All right, I got to do what's in the fraction, in the parentheses first. I'm going to do this one vertical first and then improper second. All right, so common denominator again is 20. Man, I used that one a lot, didn't I? I cannot take 12 away from 5. So I'm going to borrow one from here and add the place value. Place value is 20, so I'm adding that, making it 25. 12 from 25 is 13 over 20. 2 minus 2 is 0. So I only have a 13 over 20 plus 1. Don't overthink it. If I have 1 cookie and 3/20ths of another one, I have 1 and 13/20ths. Now the other way that I could do it, I'm actually going to change my pen because it's starting to get a little confusing. I could do the improper method, which would mean that I do a 1 over 1 plus, in the parentheses, I got to multiply and add, so that's 13 over 4 minus 10 plus 3 is 13 over 5. Got to do what's in here first. So my common denominator is 20, meaning I have to multiply that top by 4, which is going to give me 52. And I have to multiply this one by 4, which is going to give me 'I think I did my multiplication wrong here. I did. $65. And for this, it's going to give me 12 for 52. I was doing it too fast in my head. All right, so in that parenthesis, I'm going to get, when I subtract these, 13 over 20. All right, so to make this 1 over 1 a common denominator, it's going to turn into 20 over 20. 20 over 20 still reduces down to this 1. Okay, so if I take and add these, I'm going to get 33 over 20, which reduces down to 1 and 13 over 20. All right, so either way, okay? Either way will get you the right answer. All right, so now let's do this one. I'm going to do improper first, actually. So multiply, that's going to give me 5 plus 1 more is 11. 1/4 stays 1/4 plus 14 plus 1 is 15 over 7. My common denominator here is going to be 28. Remember, you can pick any common denominator. You'll get the same answer as me if you reduce. All right, so now I need to add my fractions, which gives me a 27 over 28. Common denominator of these two is going to be 28, which means I have to change this one. It's going to be times 14. That is going to be 140 plus 11 more 151, I believe. I'm going to double check that. 154. And that's going to get us 87 over 28. Now 28 goes into 87 3 times. And if I do that 3 times, so you're going to take 27 times 3, that's going to be 84, leaving me with 3 extra pieces. All right. So that's how I would do it doing the proper method. If you don't do the improper method, I'm about ready to do it without the improper method. So first I gotta hang these vertically. Okay. So 4, sorry, plus that. So I have 0 whole places in this one. Common denominator is 28, which is going to make the top 4. 28. Let me do this in a different color. This is going to get confusing. All right, so now I'm going to add my columns. 4 plus 7 is going to give me 11 over that 28, and 0 plus 2 is 2. Now I got to subtract it from this 5 and 1/2. All right, so now I'm going to do this one. 5 1/2, subtract 2, 11/28. Common denominator is going to be 28, which is going to give me a 14 on the top. Don't have to do anything to this fraction. It already has a 28. 11 from 14 is 3. 28's along for the ride. 2 from 5 is also 3. So 3 and 3 28 is the answer. All right, so that's how you do it both ways. All right, now we don't have to worry about that for the rest of them. We can just keep going. All right, so in this one, the first thing I have to do is this division. So remember, change the multiplication, and flip. So keep, change, flip. Looking at these two, I can see that these 3's cancel. But let's say you don't cancel the 3's and get 5 4's. Let's say you multiply through. Okay, then all you need to do after you do this multiplication right here and get 15 over 12 is you got to find a common denominator. Well, the common denominator of these two fractions is going to be 12. All right, so that means I don't have to do anything to my second fraction, but this one I'm going to have to multiply by 2. Now you could have done 24, you could have done, let's see, 48, you could have done anything that both 6 and 12 would have gone into. All right, add across the top, you get 15 over 12. Something is not right. I think it's my answer. Okay, so I don't know. I can actually look. Hold on one second. My answer's not wrong. I forgot to bring this 1 from this 15 over when I rewrote my fractions. Okay, that is actually going to make 25 over 12. 12 goes into 25 2 times with 1 left over because 12 times 2 is 24. Okay. All right, I got to do what's in these parentheses first. All right, and the common denominator that I found, and like I said, there are different common denominators that you can use, but I use 72, okay, which would mean times this one by 9 and times this one by 8. All right, so that would make my new fractions 45 over 72 and 32 over 72. All right, if I subtract these two, that's going to give me 13 over 72 divided by 5 6. Keep, change to multiplication, and flip. So my new statement is going to be 5 6 times 72 over 13. Now, 12 times 6 is 72, so I could cross cancel these if I wanted, and that would give me 60 over 13. Okay? Or I could just, and then I could turn that into 4 and 8/13. Or I could just multiply across the top, okay? You don't have to cross cancel. All right, so 5 times 72 I haven't done that on a piece of paper yet, so I'm going to do it on a calculator. Don't use a calculator though, just because I'm trying to make this not so long. The bottom would be 78. So 78 can go into 360 4 times, because 4 times 78 is, let me do a little math in my head, 310. I mean 312, sorry, 312. So if I subtract these, I get 48 left over. So that's going to give me 48 over 78. Well, obviously, these are going to reduce, right? 78 and 48. So I need, or yeah. So if I reduce these, 78 and 48, let me see what reduces them. I didn't do it originally this way. 8 goes into 48 6 times, so it's reduced by 6. All right, so 6 goes into 48 8 times, and into 78 13 times. So the answer would be 4 and 8/13. Okay. Cross canceling just makes it slightly easier because you don't get these big numbers. But if you don't see it, don't stress yourself out about it. You can get there, it's just you're going to have to work with some big numbers. All right, in this one I have to add first. So I need a common denominator, and that is going to be 8, which means multiplying this fraction by 4s. All right, 5 plus 4 is 9 over 8 times 1/9. Okay, if you cross cancel, then you cross cancel these 9s, giving you 1 over 8. Okay, but if you don't, you just multiply across the top, 9 over 72. Well, 9 can go in both top and bottom, giving you 1/8. All right, and the next one, I got to do everything inside that big giant parenthesis first. And the thing that goes first in these parentheses is this multiplication. You still apply order of operations within there. All right, I could cross cancel this 8 and the 4, but let's say I don't. Let's say I just multiply it across the top and the bottom. Get 28 over 40. Now, since the rest of what's in there is all adding and subtracting, I can go ahead and find one common denominator for all three. Now I could go ahead and multiply the 4s by 10 and do 40. Or I can reduce this fraction first. 4 goes into the top 7 times, and into the bottom 4 goes into 40 10 times. So if I did that, I'd have 7 over 10, okay? Well, that doesn't really change it that much, 7 over 10. My common denominator will be slightly smaller, but it doesn't really change too much. I'm going to go ahead and change it, reduce it, just because I don't want to work with the big numbers. But just know 40 as your common denominator is not going to do, as long as you reduce it at the end, it's not going to do that much damage. So I'm going to say 20 is my common denominator. That means multiplying this one by 2s, this one by 5s, and this one by 5s. It's going to be 15 over 20 minus 5 over 20. So the first thing I need to do is combine these. Okay, so I'm going to add and then subtract 5. That's going to be 29 minus 5 is going to be 24 over 20. Now I can write down the rest of my problem. Divided by 7 over 9. Keep, change to multiplication, and flip. I'm going to bring my problem up here. Keep, change to multiplication, flip. If you cross reduce, there's really nothing to cross reduce in this one. We just got to do the math, which is 24 times 9. 24 times 9 is 216. And 20 times 7 is 140. Now, I could have done a little bit of cross canceling. I could have made this one, said 2 goes into 24 12 times, and into this 10 times. 2 goes into 10 5 times, and into this 6 times. So I know because of that, this is going to reduce by 4s, which is going to give me 54 on the top, and 4 goes into the bottom 35 times. Okay? So 35 goes into 54 one time with 19 left over. So 1 and 19/35. All right, this is a very long video, but we only have 2 more. All right, we have this, everything inside this parentheses, and we got to do this multiplication first. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and cross cancel this one so I don't have to worry about the big numbers, and that's going to give me a 7/9. I can cross out those 8s. I'm left with all addition and subtraction on the inside of my parenthesis, so I can find a common denominator, and that common denominator happens to be a 36. That means the first one gets multiplied by 9s. And the next 2 get multiplied by 4s. All right, so 27 plus 8. I'm going to go ahead and do this in 2 steps because the numbers get kind of big. That's 35 over 36, almost 1. Then I'm going to minus my 28, which should give me 7 over 36. Keep, change, and flip. So my problem becomes 7 over 36 times 6 over 1. Okay, I can either cross out these 6's, the 6, and then make this 36 6, do some cross canceling, or I can just multiply. That's going to be 42 over 36. If I just multiply, 36 goes into 42 one time, and that's going to leave me with 8 left over 36. I can reduce this by, let's just say 2's to begin with. Okay, 15, 18, and then 2 again. Just 2 over 9. I did something wrong. What did I do wrong here? Hold on one second. All right, so when 36 goes into 42 one time, the leftover is actually 6, not 8. So when I divide by 2, I get 3. We'll just divide by 2's, even though we can reduce that better. Okay, so 3 over 18. Well, 3 goes into both numbers, so 3 goes into 3 once and into 18 6 times. Bring my whole number in front, and the answer is 1 1/6. All right, and this one I got to do what's in the parentheses first. You could cross out these 3's for the sake of time because this video is getting long. I'm going to do that, but I'm not going to cross out my 2 and 8 just to show you a little bit of canceling still. So 2 over 8. Bring down the rest of my problem, and then I have to say, what do I do next? Well, this division. So keep, change, and flip. I'm going to cancel out these 2's, giving me 5 over 8 plus 1/2 minus 3/4. All the rest that I have is adding and subtracting, so I can find the common denominator, and I'm going to choose 8, which means I multiply this fraction by 4 over 4, gives me 4 over 8, which is 1/2, and this one by 2's, which gives me 6 over 8. 5 plus 4 is 9, minus 6 is 3, and the answer is 3/8. So that's all of this worksheet. Keep doing it till you feel comfortable with it. If you're making little slight mistakes, you saw even in this, I made little goofs. That happens, especially the longer the problem, the more chance for error. So do not get on yourself if you made a small little mistake. Keep working them out. Let me know if you need more practice, and I'll see you in the next class.